not so good for Everton and Frank Lampard, beating at home 4-1, especially coming off the back of a really good performance at the Etihad midweek as well. What's going on there, Crookie? I mean, is it the ownership? I mean, does Frank have to take blame? Do you then ultimately look at the players and they have to take blame? What's going wrong?
I think there's two ways you have to look at it. You can look at the problems that Everton have had historically, and we talked a lot about recruitment yesterday and why it's such an important part of modern football. Everton have got their recruitment all wrong for a long time now. It's not for the want of trying or lack of ambition. They spent money. They just spent it badly. And if you look at the squad last night, it should have been good enough to at least put up a performance against the Brighton side, who cost a fraction of what Everton's team did to put together. So I think Frank Lampard, on that basis, has to take responsibility. He got his own players in the summer. He signed proven Premier League campaigners, the likes of Cody and Tarkowski, Dwight McNeil. Onana started well enough when he first came in as well, and there were other Premier League clubs in for him. So
Idrissa Gueye came in the summer again. Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't think Lampard gets a free pass. 1 win in 10 is not good enough at any level of football. I would be surprised if he survived this. I was surprised he survived the back-to-back defeats I saw at Bournemouth just before the World Cup break. They were abject twice in 4 or 5 days, Everton. Away fans very unhappy with the performance. A lot of the fans are still with Lampard, and I'd like to hear from Everton fans to explain why, because to me, he looks out of his depth.
Yeah, look, we're hearing it's very thin ice for Frank Lampard. Now, some think the ice has already cracked. Dan, what do you think the problems are? We sort of Crookie just reeled off the players that Frank brought in the summer. Again, good defenders and Cody. He's made them, up until yesterday, anyway, defensively a lot better. Going forward, they're a bit blunt.
Defensively, they were fine up until, I think, about 12, 13 games in. They had a couple, the last 3 games, I think it was, of the first section of the season before the World Cup. They had the 2 Bournemouth defeats. I think they had another one as well. I can't think off the top of my head. But up until that point, they were looking more solid and looked like they had an identity of, we're going to be hard to beat. We're going to be athletic. We're going to be tenacious. And we're going to try and stay in games and get the odd win at home to try and just keep them out of trouble. Now, I think that was the right philosophy. But more recently, they've capitulated in certain games, which is never a good sign. But the performance at Manchester City was, in some ways, perplexing in that you didn't see it coming, but it was brilliant, well organised, well disciplined. And then he changed the system at home to Brighton. Now, we were talking outside. There's a philosophy sometimes in managers that when you've had a really good performance and got a point against the best team in the world, arguably, that you should be leaving the team the same. Now, he's playing against Brighton at home, different mentality. Maybe he's thinking we can go for it a bit more. But I think that was a mistake. But hindsight's a wonderful thing.
That's naive management, isn't it?
Well, you live and die by those decisions. I would have kept it the same. I think the players would have been surprised that he didn't. But the biggest problem Everton have got, and I've seen them a lot this season, the biggest problem they've got, and it's really simplistic, they don't have enough goals and creativity. So you can have as many athletes, you can have as many defensive-minded players in the team, but you need someone who can open up a team with someone who can score. Now, Calvert-Lewin's been a big blow, because when he's at his best, he can get you a goal, but he's hardly been fit. There's not enough goals and creativity in that team. If it doesn't matter who you are at what level of football. If you're struggling to score goals, you're going to be near the bottom.
Yeah.
Now you can be hard to beat and not be high scorers, but you need someone who's going to keep making things happen and putting the ball in the net. And they haven't got one. They got none of the midfielders score. None of them. So you've got Iwobi, Idrissa Gueye, and Onana. And I mean, he's all right. He's not bad.
They're not goal scorers, though, are they?
But they're not even people who... They're not people who create
chances. Iwobi, maybe.
He's another one. Very good midfielder at what, the physical aspect, tidy on the ball, decent passer. Doesn't open you up. He's not opening you up like a De Bruyne, Thiago, those type of players. They've got no one who can open you up, really.
But with respect, Brighton had a kid up front.
Yeah.
And you look at the Brighton team, I've got it in front of me. Apologies. Sanchez, free transfer in goal. Veltman, less than $1 million. Dunk came through the academy. Colwill on loan. Estupiñán, their most expensive signing, just under £18 million. Caicedo, £5 million. Gross, £3 million. Solly March, free transfer. Sarmiento, free transfer. Matoma, £3 million. Ferguson, free transfer. Iwobi cost £30 million. More than that entire Brighton team put together. So how can you legislate for a 4-1 home defeat? How can you come out and defend Frank Lampard this morning. I don't get it.
Well, I'm saying that the main problem for me, relevant of who went in there, you could have Pep Guardiola in there. You can't turn players into creators and goal scorers. You've either got
you
them or
can
you
make
haven't.
yourself
But
difficult to
what-
beat,
yes,
like you say.
yeah.
But he can improve players.
You can improve players.
We've seen that with, I mean, Eddie Howe. We've seen it with Eddie Howe in the way in which he's proved Joe Linton and Almiron. You can improve players. And you see how he's improved players in a short space of time. You can maybe argue the only player that Frank's maybe improved since he's got there is Iwobi. That's it.
Yeah.
He hasn't improved anyone.
No, look, I'm with you, Crookie. I mean, he has to take some responsibility. One win in 10 it's down to you, the coach. You got to find a way with the players you got. You know, you can be better on set plays. You can play more direct. You can make chances for players, even if they're not natural goal scorers. You can do more than they're doing. I think he's caught between a rock and a hard place at times. He's trying to play decent football, which I'm not sure he got enough quality to do it. You're better probably going down the other route and going, we're going to be direct, we're going to be in your face, and we're going to be hard to play against. And at the moment, from week to week, they look like two different sides. But, well, no, not from week to week. The City game was a well-organised performance. I think, like you, he's hanging on. And I'm disappointed for him because he's a great guy. I know he's a student of the game and he loves his football, but at the moment the Evertonians are restless. I'm not sure how many are still on side after that performance.
Well, it'd be interesting to hear the callers because the Everton fans that I speak to still attach more of the blame to the board, and let's be honest, it is a club that's been run really poorly for a number of seasons now. And
he hasn't been in there that long, to be honest. And
no, but
he came
is his
in
mindset positive enough? Because I spoke to him after they lost at Bournemouth, and I asked him, you know, do you think you've still got the backing of the owners? And he said you have to ask them, which is an easy riposte from a manager. But he also said we were in a battle last season, so why shouldn't we be in a battle again? Well, surely your job as a manager is to make the necessary improvements that you do get better season after season. Have we seen any real progress since Frank Lampard came in?
No, we haven't. Let's be honest, Dan.
Well, they're in the same place, aren't they?
Exactly the same place. Football's not great.
It's a ruthless business, isn't it, I'm afraid? And, you know, they did... I was amazed that they didn't do more in terms of... I know there's...
I think they're skint.
No, I know, but you can manipulate. You can move players out and get players in and freshen it up in any which way. You know, it doesn't always have to be spend. You can let someone go, use that money. You can get a couple of clever loans. We've seen it many times. I just think if you watch Everton play, a bit like Wolves, a bit like Southampton, could probably name another few there, that when you watch them, you don't feel like there's goals in them.
Do you think, you mentioned yesterday, the potential of Danny Ings sort of leaving Aston Villa, whether it be on loan or permanently. Do you think Everton have to look at that and think we need him in the building?
I think they have looked at it, them and Wolves as well. But is Everton an attractive proposition for Danny Ings, particularly with his Liverpool connection? Does he really want to go and join a team in a relegation battle? I guess, you know...
Well, if it's on loan, he's not taking a risk, is he?
But the teams we're talking about are inevitably those down at the bottom of the table, but I'm just not convinced that Everton would be his first choice destination. Do you know the mistake I think they made? And this was, again, where the board were making decisions really to appease the fan base, not to cash in on Anthony Gordon. Chelsea were offering big money for a player who, for me, is far from the finished article. You look at his stats, what's he actually contributed this season? They could have taken the Anthony Gordon money and reinvested it on 2 or 3 solid Premier League campaigners. Yeah. I think that was a big error, and I think the only reason they didn't sell him is because they were worried by the reaction from the supporters.